All right, good morning, guys. Back for another fun-filled edition of Mr. Warren's video lessons, or I really need a better title for that. All right, you guys do now, should have been, in your own words, explain the difference between prejudice and discrimination, the two words we should have had last time. Then explain an example of each that you have seen or experienced in your life. So, prejudice and discrimination, two very similar yet different words. Prejudice. The big takeaway from that is that it's an attitude, it's a thought process, it's a kind of mentality. If someone has prejudice, it is a way of thinking, a way of viewing the world, a way of thinking. And so it's usually associated with some kind of negative feeling, negative attitudes towards a person just because they belong to a particular group. And then the word discrimination. This is all that except instead of a thought or an attitude, it is a physical action. So it could be, saying something, it could be touching somebody, it could be behaving a certain way. Just there's a lot of things that could fall into that category. But once again, the big takeaway: prejudice equals thoughts, attitudes. It's all up here. And then discrimination. It's some kind of action, something you do. It's something you choose to do. So today we're going to kind of continue that train of thought. And now instead of maybe when you think of prejudice and discrimination, maybe you think about person-to-person interaction. Now we're going to try to broaden that just a little bit. So the first term we're going to cover today is something called groupthink. Once again, my prior sociology students, this should be a review for you guys. Groupthink. The practice of thinking or making decisions that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. There you go. So, once again, groupthink. The practice of thinking or making decisions that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. So, let's break down this word. So, the practice of thinking or making decisions that discourages creativity. So, if you think you're hanging out with a group of friends, and you guys, as a group, decide to go somewhere. So, the group decides to go to this restaurant tonight to eat. I don't really make that call myself, but because I'm part of the group, I'm going to go along with them. So this could be an example of groupthink. I'm just kind of going along with them. I don't have that creativity. I didn't really voice my individual opinion in that. I'm just kind of going with the group. And then individual responsibility. And so here's where it goes from something that's, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's not the worst either. But individual responsibility is kind of when it takes a turn to being a bad thing. So kind of the same mentality. I'm out with a group. We're out doing this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden the group decides that, hey, we're going to go shoplift from the store. We're going to all sneak in. We're all going to steal something. Now, because once again I'm in that group, I'm kind of in that mentality. Even if I'm thinking to myself, it's probably not the best thing to do, and I still decide to go along with the crowd. I still decide to go along with them and do what they're doing because I want to be part of the group. And if I don't follow what the group is wanting to do, then I'm going to be ostracized. I'm going to be outcast. Oh, they're not going to let me hang out with them anymore. They're not going to let me be their friend anymore. And so I go along with them. And so if I'm in a big group and say we walk over and we kick something over in the store, in front of the manager, in front of everybody, and they yell at us, and we all take off. This action kind of discourages when we talk about individual responsibility because, it lessens the chance of me getting in trouble. And I know that, being in that group. Oh, if I'm in a big cluster of people and we all take off at the exact same time, all they see is a group. They don't see, oh, Fred is the one that kicked it over, or Dean is the guy that said this, that, and the other. No, they just see a group of people running off. And because people in the group know that, they know they can probably get away with it. It's kind of a similar mentality like if I had a mask on. If I know, oh, my identity is concealed. They don't know it was me. I'm essentially hiding in the group. So individual responsibility goes out the window. So once again, the practice of thinking or making decisions that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. Next up, we have something called group polarization. This should be a new one. Z-A-T-I-O-N. There we go. Group polarization. P-O-L-A-R-I-Z-A-T-I-O-N. So it's kind of a lengthy definition, so just kind of stay with me. The solidification and further strengthening of an individual's position as a consequence of a group, oh, that's a terrible G, discussion or interaction. So, this essentially stems from groupthink. This is what happens in the long-term, this keeps going on for a long, long time, excuse me. So, the solidification or the strengthening, the solidification means that it's hardening, it makes it harder to change, essentially. The solidification and further strengthening of an individual's position. So, when I say my position, the way I think about a certain thing, my opinion, my view on this, as a consequence of a group discussion or interaction. So what that means is, let's say for whatever reason, let's say I like the Colts. And so I go to a Colts game and I sit around a bunch of fans and we get in a group. We hang out the entire game and then we have a great time, yada, yada, yada. I come back next week, we go to another game, so we become a group, we become a thing. And so if I start off as just being a Colts fan, because I'm around these group of people who are like, yeah, go Colts, yeah. And, people dress up in face paint, they go the whole 10 miles. Then I suddenly start becoming a super fan with them. My original position of, I like the Colts, they're a good team, is further strengthened, and I get more rowdy and I get more intense simply because of that group that I'm around, that group decision, that group discussion. They're hooting and hollering, best player this, best player that, forget the other team, they suck, whatever. So my original position becomes strengthened because I'm in that group. They help me feel better about my decision. It goes from, they make me feel better about myself to, I really feel like I'm part of this group. I really feel like I'm one of the guys or gals or whatever. And so there's some good things about that. It makes people feel good about themselves, makes them feel like they belong, like they have a place, like, they can identify with people. But also, if you take that down a negative road, if you have somebody who say, that same confusion, I'm lost, I don't really feel like I fit anywhere, I really don't feel like I'm, I have any friends, what have you. This is how a lot of times some adolescents and even adults get roped into gangs. So what happens is you have somebody who's very impressionable and seeking that kind of, I want to belong somewhere, I want to belong to a group, I want to be around people who have the same mentality, who have the same struggles that I do. And so they find a group of people in a gang, like, come in, we'll take care of you, we're all family here, we're this, that, and the other. And so that person who may have not been a person that may have done something wrong or something illegal before, now because they feel so strongly a part of that group, and they feel like they belong finally, that they might be more inclined to do what that group says, even if what the group says is not are always good things. So, here in just a second, they're going to put on video. There should be two lined up. If any of you guys, I don't know if any of you guys remember the Baltimore riots a few years back. A certain situation erupted amongst police and the people that lived in Baltimore, Maryland at the time. That slowly escalated into rioting and just a whole situation which you're kind of about to see unfold. So I'll step aside for just a second in case you guys got to finish copying this down. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and hit pause on this video and then go ahead and pull up the two YouTube clips. And we'll talk more once they're done. All right, so like I said, or I guess I didn't really say it before, some of those images, some of what's going on is just crazy to me. I just personally don't understand it. You have some people coming in trying to help the situation, whether it be police, first responders, EMS, firefighters, and some people, because once again they're in that group mentality, they know they're not going to get caught, whether it be in a group, they're wearing a mask, something to conceal who they are. They do terrible things that are even counterproductive to what they're trying to do. Okay, if you're willing to hurt your own neighborhood that you say you're trying to protect, you're trying to doing bad things and messing this area up when your original goal was to protect it. Like I said, personally, it makes very little sense to me. So, last vocab term we're going to cover, and then one last quick clip to show, and then we'll start wrapping things up. So, last term for the day is something called compliance, or acting in accordance with a wish or command. So acting in accordance with a wish or command. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If I'm complying, that means, oh, somebody told me what to do. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to comply. I'm going to be in compliance with what they said. Go back to thinking about parenting. Oh, you're going to comply with what mom and dad said. You are being compliant. Or against something more of an authority figure, whether it be a teacher, a principal, a police officer, something like that. If I'm being compliant, it means I'm cooperating. I am doing, okay, I'm doing what I've been asked to do, whatever that may be. So, once again, go ahead and hit pause. If you need a second, write down the vocab word, go ahead and check out the clip quick, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, so wrap things up with a quick exit slip for you guys. How are groupthink and conformity potentially dangerous to one's self as well as society? What are some examples found here at school? So this question is in two parts. Once again, I'll read it again. How are groupthink and conformity potentially dangerous to one's self as well as society? So how are they dangerous to me, and how are they dangerous to where I live? And what are some examples that you think you can find here at school? So as always, about 45 sentences. Make it a good one, and I'll see you guys for the next lesson.